Welcome everybody to the Q&A for The Brain That Wouldn't Die. Let me bring our participants in to join in what will certainly be a fun Q&A. Let's see, we got one, we got two, we got three.
Hello.
I see Daniel, I see Derek. And we just need,
hey,
there he is. Awesome. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. We're thrilled to have you. What a fun movie.
Thank you.
Derek, as the leader of the ship here, why don't you introduce us to your team?
Yeah, well, I'm Derek, the director, and with me we got Daniel Timothy Tracy, who is our producer and also has he's the rookie cop in the film. And we also have Hank Huffman, the writer, who is also the singing voice of The Thing when it sings Under the Bamboo Tree.
That's good trivia right there. We're going to come back to that one.
Please don't make me do it.
We have a karaoke thing happening tomorrow. We might just have to get you up on stage. So let's just jump right into it. Tell us where this idea came from. Give us a little history.
I actually had never seen the original film before when we first started working on it. Just one day, Hank called me up and said, there's this project that I want to work on, but I need you to watch the film first. And so he told me to go on YouTube, where it's everywhere on YouTube. And I watched it and I called him back and I was like, it's terrible, but I love it. And he was like, that's exactly what I wanted to hear because I'm writing a remake. So, and Hank, you can take it from there. What was your, yeah.
Like you said, that was the exact reaction I wanted. I mean, it's definitely a B movie and it's rough, but it has a certain quality that I've always loved, and I had the feeling you would too. I thought you could remake the hell out of it, so
yeah,
and you did.
And you've been a fan of it for a long time, right?
Oh, since I was a kid. Yeah, Mystery Science Theater was what introduced me to the film, but that might just be my favorite movie they watch on that show.
Wow.
Yeah. And so once we decided we're going to do it, I was living in New York at the time, and I flew over and crashed on Hank's couch for 5 months and got Daniel and the team involved and launched a Kickstarter. And 2 weeks after the Kickstarter, we were on set filming.
Wow. How much did you raise?
We raised $71,000.
Nice. So Daniel, could you come aboard?
I had worked with him before. I worked with this just hilarious film, Bad Seed, which please check it out. It's just the greatest.
Which also has inspiration from The Brain That Wouldn't Die. There's another monster trapped in a shed. But sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, it's just the best. I just love that movie, and that's the first movie we met on, and then we ended up doing something. We ended up trying to produce a show, like an episodic, and it just didn't go where we needed it to go, and we all got busy with life, and so we made a trailer for that and kind of let it go. Released Bad Seed, and released the trailer for that while we were doing the Kickstarter for Brain That Wouldn't Die. But back to answer your question, we were talking about it honestly, and the idea is phenomenal. It's a good idea to take something that already has a following. To take something, the Mystery Science Theater, me and my dad watched Mystery Science Theater together. We love that show. So I get it. I'd never seen the movie either, by the way, whenever we initially, when we talked about it. But I was like, I'm in if you guys will have me. And so we did it. It was it was a really smart idea. There was no reason not to jump in.
Well, they don't make this kind of movie that much anymore. I mean, clearly there's a bit of throwback going on. I'm just wondering, when you make it, obviously you raised funds, you pulled the crew together. you didn't just make it for fun, right? You made it to bring it out into the world. So just thinking ahead in your final destination, your goals for the film, who are you thinking this would be for? Or were you thinking about, festivals and being acquired, or like what was your end game?
Yeah, we knew there was an audience for it, just because the original movie has sustained a cult audience for decades, and just the title alone has brought a lot of attention to it. It is a weird genre mix, though, because not only is it like retro sci-fi horror, we've added a comedy element to it. So, I don't know. I guess we're hoping that one of those genres would land with an audience. And I don't know. Maybe Hank or Daniel can talk to that more, because I just loved it, and I just kind of went for it. I wasn't thinking too much about the marketing of it. But
Well, and just rephrase the question, I guess. I'm not trying to like, steer this or anything. I'm just curious because I think, I talk to filmmakers quite a bit, and the question is always, so what are your goals for the film? And sometimes it's an exercise, right? It's a first film. It's made for very little money, and it's a calling card and all that. But I mean, there's a sense of style and polish, and I mean, you're paying homage to other projects, right? I mean, so you knew that there was an audience for it, and and your goal was to get the film out into the world. Were you thinking theatrical? Were you thinking, if we can get theatrical, great, but we didn't spend $1 million on it, so we'll just kind of play it out?
Yeah, theatrical was always kind of like a long shot. Our strategy was definitely go to festivals and then hope, get on a streaming platform somewhere, maybe, Netflix or Hulu or Amazon. There was a little bit of thought, like maybe some, it would be cool at a drive-in, which seems even more possible now than we could have possibly imagined. But yeah, we just, at the heart of it, it was just, it's just such a fun project. We figured that, there would be someone somewhere that would be attracted to this.
Fair enough. Tell us about some of the more challenging scenes that you had to pull together in terms of shooting, right?
Well, I mean, the whole movie,
Sorry, what's that?
start to finish, is a period piece. So every last scene has that challenge in common.
Right.
So any exteriors that involve vehicles, that's going to be a hassle. Yeah.
What effect?
What's that?
What about the effects? What about some of the
blood stuff was difficult just because we were on such a low budget that we didn't have the money to like get a bunch of duplicate pieces of wardrobe and repaint and all this stuff. So both the big blood effects we have, like right at the beginning, and then when Kirk gets his arm ripped off, we just did one take of those. We just had multiple cameras, one take, and we just prayed that it worked, and luckily it did. But in terms of like a difficult scene, the most difficult for the cast and crew was definitely the scene where Bill first picks up Jan's head and he's running around outside and then runs up to the house, simply because it was raining all day and the whole crew was out in the rain, drenched, miserable. We had to go buy dry socks afterwards because everyone was just soaked to the bone. So that was a tough day for sure. And I think John is frozen.
He's very stoic otherwise. I'm definitely frozen, John.
So Daniel, tell us about your day on set. You had one day on set.
It was fun.
Working with the late great Robert Blanche.
My character too. Like, oh my gosh, like Robert Blanche. Bless his heart. It was such a fun day. The one thing about the scene with Robert Blanche that I was really kind of like bummed out about is that I got to act with him, but I didn't but his character was like dismissive. So I felt like I never got to act with him. And he's good at work. does. So
Yeah.
it's like you know, he was dismissive. He did exactly what you asked him to do. It was kind of sad. Other than that,
Yeah.
like, great. I mean, that character is so fun. And I literally took, me and Jason took 4 hours one night and just honed it in. And I got a hold of Ted Rooney, my mentor, and I paid for an hour with him just to hone it in for that character. Like, and I had a background for the character and everything. Like, he was a Boy Scout. His dad died when he was 4. Like, all kinds of like things. Just like a real person, and like, but in a really weird place, you know, like in this ridiculous world. Like, it was fun, dude. That character. Well, anything Hank writes, especially Hank's a good writer, so it's fun to play off that stuff.
Thank you, Daniel. You mentioned that sadness that he has to keep projecting you or dismissing you, rather. I noticed you had that little improvised bit where you say thank you when he finally shows some acceptance
Right
at the end. Do you think, was that an earnest thank you to some extent?
It was from the character.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I mean, maybe, man. That's actually kind of funny. I never would have thought of that way.
That's one of my favorite improvised bits in the movie. Is that beat and then thanks.
So, I go thanks like that, right? That's like what I loved that character. I was totally into it. And yeah, you know what? Honestly, yeah, it's all honest thank you. You know, either way, if I'm in the headspace of the character, it would be honest, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Terrific. Shall we jump into some questions, guys? We've got a lot of good questions here.
Please.
So one of the good questions I see here is talk a little bit about how you achieved the old nostalgic look, just in terms of the look and feel.
Yeah, it was kind of, every department luckily, did a great job in making that work. So, it started with production design, obviously. Tiffany Ayers, our wonderful production designer, just found a lot of amazing stuff with like no money for a period piece. I think her budget was like $3,000 or $4,000 for a period piece feature. It's kind of crazy that she pulled it off. And then our wardrobe designer, Jade Harris, she'd actually worked on a stage production of The Brain That Wouldn't Die. And so she had access to a lot of costumes already, which is funny because we hired her not even knowing that. It was just a coincidence. So she just got all these amazing costumes. Then worked really hard with the actors to get that kind of like old, a little bit of that transatlantic accent, that old style accent, and just, a little bit heightened theatrical performance. And then the last thing was working with Kevin Forrest, our cinematographer. We wanted to get that early color, that Technicolor feel. Excuse me. And so we just kind of threw color everywhere, like unmotivated, just sure, that wall's blue, that's fine. And then, thinking about what the old movies used to look like, it was longer takes, kind of slow movements. They always felt like they were filmed on a sound stage. They didn't feel real. So we like really wanted to make sure to film at a place that was actually like a warehouse and build sets. So, there's just from the very beginning, we all put it together. And I don't think you can hear me. I can see the questions though. Let's keep this going. Here's one for you, Hank. What's the biggest difference between the film and the original?
Ooh, that's a really good question, and nobody's asked that yet.
John, I went ahead and asked what's the biggest difference between our film and the original?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm having a technical issue here.
Let's see here.
Just keep it going, guys.
All
if I
good.
disappear, it's part of the magic.
I'm going to say just like a couple things that come to mind in regards to that question. I would say the first is I think the intentions of our film are a little more clear and a little more precise. I think there's just more intentionality in this film in general. I would say that's a pretty big difference. I think it's a little bit emphasizes the social commentary a bit more. And the biggest difference, I don't, this isn't the biggest difference, but personally, when I go back and watch the original, the difference I find most intriguing is the character of Doris, and that tying in with the backstory it's given in this film, I think makes it so much more significant that that becomes his ultimate choice than in the original, where it the only reason he goes after her is because she's presented as having the best body. It's the same escalation that's been driving him through the whole movie, and in this, it's the culmination of his two greatest obsessive quests that he's ever been on merge into the same mission. He can finally, he'll get his body for Jan, and he can finally have Doris in a sense. I think that's a pretty key difference between the two.
Terrific.
Absolutely.
There's another good question here, and I know Daniel was talking about it earlier. Are there any plans to remake any other mystery science theater movie?
Just one. Most of the things we've developed since the ideas we've talked about have been original, but the one remake that we really want to do, that actually is another mystery science movie, and that's Pod People. Okay. Which featured the alien of Trumpy. I don't know if that name might have to be changed. Well, no, yeah, he's the one.
Why is that, Hank?
Yeah, Trump. Why should Trumpy change his name? No, because for those who have seen it, the producer decided to try to capitalize on two different kinds of movies, one being slasher films and the second being Amblin entertain, like E.T. Mm-hmm. And those genres don't go together in an obvious way. No, and they keep them very separate. Like there's a boy who's discovers and raises a friendly alien, and then there's a bad alien that's killing sexy 20-somethings. And we thought that movie would be pretty fun if in that one, the key difference would be it's the same alien. The alien that the boy loves and is raising and nurturing also happens to be killing everybody. and
maybe you do Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. You throw that in there.
Yeah.
You throw that into the mix. Well, I mean, it's amazing that this movie's doing really well in the festival circuit, right? Like played some festivals once.
Yeah, we've had some pretty good success, shown at a couple big ones. Fright Fest over in the UK and Scream Fest in LA.
So what's next for the movie? I mean, I assume you're going to play some more festivals. Like, is there a release strategy in the works? Are you courting off distributors?
There are a handful more festivals coming. A lot of them have been delayed till mid next year just because of the obvious reasons. And we are currently in talks with getting some distribution deals going. So we're hoping that this will be more widely available to purchase or rent. I
think festivals are definitely going to be doing a bit more of a hybrid thing, certainly by spring. It's just a question of, which distributor you go with and how many festivals they'll let you play before they want to push it out on all the different TVOD, SVOD, and go through that whole circus. But I mean, it's a terrific film, and I'm sure audiences are going to love to see it. And is there other ideas that you guys want to talk about that we didn't cover? Certain like behind the scenes. How about something that nobody would know that happened behind the scenes? Some kind of fun anecdote about making the film.
Ooh, what's a fun anecdote? I'll leave the name off. There was a local production who I will not name specifically, but they were throwing away some of their like flats for their sets, and someone who worked on it called us like, "Hey, come get it." And so we basically all the sets that you see we pulled out of a dumpster somewhere.
That's awesome. That's Roger's
That's how
Corman
you gotta make. That's what you gotta do to make a movie.
Just take the backdrop, turn
Exactly.
it around, paint it. You got another one. That's cool. Anything else you can think of? Anything, Hank?
I'm trying to think. So most of the exteriors you see, anytime you're in a forest or most of Bill running around and where he's driving, a lot of that was these family friends of mine who growing up, it's where my friends and I shot all our home movies. And so when I called them years later asking them, "Hey, could I come make another movie on your property?" They were pretty surprised when 30 plus people but their son showed up during filming, and Alex, our co-producer, was in the Thing prosthetic. He was in full monster regalia, and their son arrives, who's a police officer. A cop car rolls up, and I see a cop get out of the car, and for 1 second, I think, oh my God, this police officer is going to see a monster standing in front of his house and shoot it. I just saw the worst thing ever flash before my eyes. And luckily that didn't happen. But that officer, as a child, was in a movie, and it turned out to be Robert Blanche, the detective in our film. It turned out to be his first film.
Oh, wow.
Was the one movie this guy had been in. I thought that was kind of neat. Small world.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
That's all my trivia.
You got any anecdotes, Daniel? You want to share?
I wasn't on set all that much. I was working a full-time job at the time, and I had that. So I came and visited a couple times and ate lunch and whatnot, and just kind of heard. I mean, I knew they were taking care of it. I wasn't worried about that. So I just kind of stayed out of it, and they did their thing, and I got ready for the role, and I went that one day and did that hardcore. They let me improv, as I always like to do. And then that was it. So I mean, the day I was on set, I got lucky enough to work with Robert Blanche. It was the big thing, honestly. So that one day, wish I could have worked with Jason again. I love Jason. He's great. Someday we will again. But he was actually, Jason was in Bad Seed with me. Mm-hmm. So the original movie we did was Jason and me, and we were like buddies at the very beginning, and it was great. So that's how me and Jason actually met and worked together, and it all kind of like fell together. But as far as being on set, I don't have any stories or anything from that, because I just wasn't there that much.
No worries.
A small anecdote about how we got Alex Tiefenthaler, the Thing, involved. We were actually just at a production meeting at Daniel's house, and we were sitting in the backyard around his table, and we're talking. We're literally like, how the hell are we going to find someone to be the Thing? And literally a couple minutes later, Daniel's like, oh, my buddy's stopping by, and in walks this 7-foot tall former European basketball player. And we're like, hey, you want to be in a movie? and he was great. And our host is gone.
He's back. And there he goes.
Oh, man.
Lunch break.
Can you hear me?
I remember. I remember that did feel like a scripted moment. Where are we going to find a extremely tall person? Out walks an extremely tall person.
I just saw another question pop up before we wrap up. I thought this was kind of fun. You guys have shown this at a lot of festivals, and I'm guessing you've done some stuff on social. So, have you had feedback from fans of the original, or getting anybody doing some funky comparisons?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, I think the reception's been pretty good. We were pretty faithful to the original. We just added on top of that. So, everyone seems to quite enjoy our take on it. And it's never mind. That was
a good question, because there are some people that are fans and they see this and go ahead. Hank?
I was going to say that's what I'm most excited for the release. Like, I want as many people to love this movie as possible, and even if you haven't seen the original, I would hope you'd still like it. But the people I am most excited to hear reactions from are people who are intimately familiar with the original. I think that they stand to appreciate what it's doing the most, certainly. Down to the littlest decisions, down to individual lines, like the smallest changes that make an interesting difference. Derek, who were those people that ran? Was it MST 3K a day or?
Yep, that's it.
The guy who ran that Instagram, he was very familiar with the original, and I really enjoyed reading his thoughts on it. But yeah, we haven't had a ton of. Only so many people have seen it thus far, so I'm excited to get more of those reactions.
Yeah, it'll be fun for you to integrate that somehow into your web presence. Speaking of, tell everybody where they can find you, where they can track you, follow you. Do you have a website, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Till the movie.
Yeah, we're on everything. www.brainthatwouldn'tdie.com. On Facebook and Instagram as Brain That Wouldn't Die, and Twitter is Brain Wouldn't Die. had to shorten that one. But we're all in all of it and pretty active, so hit us up.
Terrific. Well, thanks guys for all your time. Thanks for sharing your movie with our audience. It's one of the.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, thanks.
Highlights for sure. A lot of fun, and I can't wait to get some more feedback from the audiences. And we wish you guys the best in your next endeavor. And certainly we'll keep our eyes out for the big release. Make sure you let us know. Paul and I will push it out to the iGems and Filmocracy fans out there, and make sure everybody knows about it.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, guys. You be well. Hey, don't forget, tomorrow night we're going to have a happy hour, 5 to 7 in the saloon.
I'll be there.
Awesome. All right. We'll see you tomorrow, guys. Thanks again for everything.
Cheers, sir.
Be well.
See you, Daniel.
Cheers.
Yes.